Hi everyone, CR Gaming here. I've had a lot of questions about the Fenix A320 and how to get everything to work, how to get your flight plan in, how to get the plane to turn on, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go over that today with you. We do have the little fly pad here thing. We do need to hold down the little thumbprint there, and that'll open it up for us. We're going to use that to import part of the flight plan. We're also going to go over how to use the flight computer to import the flight plan into the flight computer up here. So, the first thing that we're going to need to do is make sure this Fenix app is open. You should open automatically when you load the plane. If it does not, you should have it in your start menu or on your desktop. Make sure this program is open. To get all the simbrief stuff to work, we will need to make sure our simbrief user ID is in here. I'll show you how to get that. So we're going to start by going over to simbrief.com. If you click on Dispatch, you click on Dispatch System, pulls up this page right here, and we're going to create a new flight. So I need to select the airframe, which is going to be the A320. And I'm going to put you can fill in all of this information. We're just going to do the basics today. So I'm going to do KJFK, and we're flying to Philadelphia, so KPHL. Alrighty. And it automatically puts in an alternate. The alternate is actually where we're taking off from, so that doesn't make much sense, but that's what it is. The next thing we want to do is make sure we hit this little refresh button here. Once we load in the flight plan to the plane, it's going to want us to take off within 30 minutes. So if this is not set up correctly, it'll say that we're late for taking off, which we don't want. The other thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have this set to pounds if you're using pounds in the Fenix plane. Kilograms if you're using kilograms in the Fenix plane. You can also set up your different fuel reserves. If we come on down, we're going to go to the amount of passengers. So you can actually select exactly how many passengers you want on board. I'm going to click full. You can also select the freight that you want on board. I'm going to put, let's see, 5,000 pounds of freight here. So this is all set up for us. It's automatically selected a route. Now, normally the route distance would not be plus 46.2, but because we're doing such a short flight, it's a lot longer than it needs to be, just for all the arrivals. If you look down here, it shows a map of what you're going to be doing. So I'm just going to scroll back up here. Make sure everything is all correct. Now, here, right down here is where your pilot ID is. That is the number that you're going to want to punch into Fenix right here. If that number is not in the Fenix app, it won't work correctly. So we're going to hit Generate Flight here, and it's always going to ask if you want to overwrite. Just say yes. And this should just take a couple seconds here, just to give you all the flight information. And it's going to show us our flight plan now. So pretty much the same screen, just as a finalized flight. If you skip that step for the actually creating the flight and putting it into My Briefing, it won't load into the plane, so make sure you do that. So, back to the plane. We're going to click on this Fenix icon right here. And I'm going to go over to Panel States. You can start the plane cold and dark. You can start it with your APU on. You can start it ready to go. I normally start with my APU on. Reason being, you can't load the flight plan in if your engines are already on. So I'm going to click on that. You can set it as default. I'm just going to hit activate right now. And as you can see, my engines are off, but my APU is on. The bleed air is already ready to go. Engines are ready to start up. Makes it a little easier. So if we come back over here, I'm going to tap to import my flight plan. Just give it a couple seconds, and you can see here my flight plan is in. If we look over on the right here, we're going to go to Init. On the Init, we can do the Init request. And once we click that, it should populate our flight plan into the flight computer. Sometimes it does take a couple seconds. There we go. So right now it's saying we're going from JFK to Philadelphia. I can put in any flight number I want. I'm also going to want to put in a cruise altitude and cost index. Cost index is basically going to say how much fuel the plane uses, and do you want it to go a little faster and use more fuel, or more fuel efficient and go a little slower. So anywhere, you can put any number you want in there. I generally like to go fast, so I'm going to put 100 in there. Anything from 0 to 100 is what you really want in there. So I'm going to come back over here, and we are going to click on the little simbrief icon, or pilot brief. So, click again to import our latest flight plan from simbrief. And here is all the information we had on that web page. So this will give us our routing, plan fuel, all that information. The one thing that's not on here is the altitude that they're recommending. So I'm going to come back over here. Since it's such a short flight, it's recommending only flight level 140. So I'm going to put that back in the init page. So we're going to go 140. And we have this page all set up. The other thing we're going to want to look at is the fuel. We need to put in our 0 fuel weight. So we're going to come back over here to the little fly pad. And we actually can't figure out our 0 fuel weight yet because we don't have the plane loaded. So if we go back to that first tab here, there's several tabs on the bottom. So we're going to go to ground services. I'm going to make sure our jetway is hooked up here. It's not, looks already, when you look from outside the plane, can't tell if it's hooked up. See, it's not hooked up at the moment. So I'm going to hit toggle jetway, and that'll bring the jetway to us. I think I hit it too many times here. And see the front door opened automatically. On this page, you can set up if you want a GPU. You can set up if you need the stairs, cargo doors, all that kind of stuff. You can also connect your tug into your pushback here. So if we look outside the, well, it's not working at this particular gate at JFK, but it should be connecting to the plane. Either the plane's parked wrong or the gate's wrong, but technically the jetway should be connected. As far as the sim is concerned, it's connected. So if we go to mass and balance, as you can see, all these numbers came from simbrief. It determined how many people I can put on board, 162. Determine the fuel that it thinks I need for this very short flight. That's got a lot of reserves because we're flying for, 20 minutes. And it shows the, I'm sorry, that's the cargo capacity that I said. This is the fuel right here. So now we have our one-speed load. We just hit this right here. You can do it in real time, fast, or instant. I'm going to click instant because you don't want to wait 27 minutes on my video. And here is going to give our 0 fuel weight and our percentage right here. So we're going to put in 134. It's actually asking for 1 decimal, so we're going to do 134.5. So this is in thousands, just to clarify why we didn't put the whole number in. And we're going to hit slash and try and put in 0 fuel weight. This normally does not work, so it should be 30.4%. But it probably won't work for the actual percentage here. Oh, it actually worked today. Doesn't always work. If it doesn't work, make sure you get the 0 fuel weight in there. The center of gravity doesn't matter as much. Alrighty, so right now, we have our plane loaded up, and we just want to check out our departure. So we're going to click on Departure Preferences up here. Now we should go back and figure out what runway we're taking off on. So if I go over to the pilot brief, if I look at my routing, gotta scroll down here to find the routing. It's saying that we're taking off from runway 22 left. I'm sorry, 22 right. That's my alternate route. This is the original routing right here. So we're taking off on 22 right. So we're going to put that into departure preferences. We already have the airport. We're going to select 22 right. It's nice and sunny out today, so we're going to select dry. We're going to sync our load sheet. That's going to put in the weight and the center of gravity that we already have. We're going to sync our weather, and we'll hit calculate. So what this is going to give us is a bunch of our takeoff information that we're going to need. So if we now go over to performance, this screen looks almost identical to this one. So we got 154 for our V1, 154 for your VR, and 155 for our V2. So we're just going to type in 154 154, and then click that. What was the last one? 155. Okay. Okay. Our transition altitude is not listed here, but it's 18,000. Our thrust reduction is 1020. And 1020 here, and we need a flex to temp of 68. Alrighty, so putting in the flex to temp. And these should be 1020. And the same with my engine out altitude. Now these two, I don't know how to actually put them in properly. I've had trouble with that, so I'm just going to leave those blank. I don't know how to put in, I could put in flaps 3, but the DNO 3, that doesn't really work. I'm not sure how to make that work properly. So we're just going to leave that where it is today. So right now, our flight computer is pretty much set up. We are ready to start our engines at this point. So I'm going to open up all the fuel valves. Now, if you want to learn how to do the proper startup sequence, there's tons of YouTube videos that show how to do the proper startup in an A320, so I'm not going to go through all of that today. We have our APU bleed on. I just opened all our fuel valves. So we're just going to click our engines on. Now, ordinarily, you'd start them separately, but I'm just trying to get this done quickly here today. And that should be everything we need to start from an APU setting. One of the things we still need to do is pull on this little lever to make sure our secondary ADI is set up correctly. It's going to bounce around a little bit. Just hold it pulled out. And once it stabilizes, you can let that go. So while we're waiting for our engines to start here, I'll show you some other settings that we want to look at. Again, if anything is having problems, make sure that simbrief number is put in here. It should automatically populate that from the app. If we're looking for the sim settings, we tap here. So here we have a lot of different options. One of the things that you want to look at is the units. I like to fly in pounds since I'm American, but you can set up all these things to meters, feet, HPA. You can set it to pounds or kilograms. Also, you can set what callouts you want. You know, it's going to do 50, it's going to skip 40, 30, 20, 10. I really don't need 5. We're practically hitting the ground by the time we hit 10. On your controls, you can select if you want to be the co-pilot or the pilot. This one right here is the baro control. You can adjust the barometer right here. And if you see how I have it set up, when I adjust one, it adjusts the co-pilot one as well. If you want to adjust those separately, you can unlink them independent. Auto jetway simulation, that's where the jetway should come up and go away when you load the plane. Auto door simulation, same thing. So when we look at the cabin, you have cabin lights, visibility, nothing really crazy. Here are all kinds of things that would be set up by your airline. And some airframe things. So those are all the different settings that you would want to go through. Now this saves per livery. So if you set it all up on one livery and then switch liveries, it's not going to be set up for you. So at this point, our engine is started up. If we go to our flight plan, everything should be good. But nope, we didn't put in our departures or our arrivals. So we're going to click on KJFK. And we are going to click on departure. Now, if we go back over here, we can look at our pilot brief again on the fly pad. And it's saying that we're going to go direct to Dixie, DCT to Dixie, on 22 right. So, we're going to select runway 22 right. Now, of course, if your ATC tells you something different, then you're going to, follow their instructions. All right, so we're going to inset in there. And we still have a discontinuity here. So we're going to hit the clear button here. And we're going to clear that. Of course, it doesn't want to let me clear that here. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, now we're taking off. And we are going pretty much direct to Dixie. Now, if we look at the rest of our flight plan, we're going to have the same problem towards the landing. After deceleration, we don't have our arrival set up. I generally like to do that wait to do that until air traffic control gives me my final. If it is what I planned, you can pre-plan this in there, but it may change based on your air traffic control. So right now our plane is set up, ready to fly. We're going to turn off our ignition. As you can see here, the computer is telling us all the different things we need to do to actually get in the air. If you know how to fly an A320, then that's pretty straightforward. You got all your autopilot settings up there and everything. You're going to want to preset those. But at this point, the plane is pretty much ready to fly. One of the other things I do want to go over is NavGraph. Once you set up a simbrief account, you also get the NavGraph data center. What you want to make sure is that everything is updated all the time. So you need to update two different things. One is the ARAC cycle in the sim. So this is Microsoft Flight Simulator. If this says install, you need to click it. If you do want to use the charts in the in-game panel, you can click install on that as well. I don't use that because all of my planes have the charts available on the flypad. I'll show you where to get those in a minute. And that is if you have the subscription that includes the charts. There are a couple different subscriptions. That is the premium subscription that has the charts. Over here, you also want to make sure the actual plane is updated. Now, if you have other add-ons, you may have more than one plane here. Just make sure they're all updated or it's not going to work properly. So, back to the little flypad here. We are going to back to the pilot briefing. So you do have your weather briefing here, your NOTAMs, and if we click on, I pulled up the wrong tab here. We need to click on this one, NavGraph. So again, we need to import our route from simbrief. Pretty much every different screen has a different input, and you can actually pull up your charts right here, reference docs. You can have your departures, your arrival charts. So if we click on an arrival, it's right here. The other really cool thing is it shows where my plane is on the chart. You see that little blue plane? So it shows where we are. Makes it a little bit easier. You can also turn it to night charts. So I have all that in here, which is why I don't install the chart add-on to the sim. The one other thing I do want to show you is when you're setting up your approach, click on this one right here, Arrival Preferences. Again, you can select the runway that you want, that you're going to land on, runway condition. You can sync with the weather. You're going to want to generally hit refresh and then apply. And then you need to put in your landing weight. Your landing weight is going to be on the flight computer. And so we're just going to put in a random number right now because we obviously haven't been flying around. And I think I put too many digits in there. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, this is confusing. This is also not in thousands of pounds now. Now it's actual pounds. So we're going to say 90,000 pounds. Or let's see here. I think I'm putting in a number that's too high here. Our gross weight is 145.8. I'll just put in our takeoff weight here. 5.8. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, our runway came up on the side here. Based on these configurations, we will need 8,287 feet to land. And that's a lot of runway. So we probably want to use our reverse thrust. That got us to within an acceptable range. We could also use medium auto brake. That's going to significantly reduce our runway. We could also see what would happen if we use less flaps, more flaps. If we use auto land, that's going to take a little bit more landing room. Auto throttle off or on. You can see as we change all these things, the landing distance changes as well. We could also say if we have problems. So let's say my brakes, my anti-skid doesn't work. all of a sudden you saw my runway distance got a lot longer, and it's now saying max manual. I cannot use auto brakes because my braking is failing. So you can put in different failures. If I say my flaps and slats had a fault, oh, now my runway distance is crazy, right? I can't land at this runway. That's basically what it's saying, is I need a lot of runway, and there's no way I can land here. So that's just going to show you what your different options are for landing. And you can use that to determine if the runway is going to be sufficient and what configuration you should use for landing. So that is pretty much everything you need to know about getting simbrief to talk to the Fenix and getting your flight plan in there, setting that up. There's tons of videos on how to actually fly the A320, so I'm not going to go into all of that today. I was just really giving you a tutorial of how to get all those programs to work together. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe.